So you are a Nashville native,
Yeah.
and you've made millions of dollars selling drugs. So you got to help me understand that.
Yeah, man, I was a huge drug dealer. Okay, but in order for you to understand it, you gotta know why and like how that came about. And so it started out in North Nashville, which is one of the most incarcerated rates in the country per capita for an area of town.
Is that still true today?
Yes, yes, right.
And
here
that's
in
been
Nashville.
that's been for a long period of time. That stat.
Well, they did a study about 3 years ago, and since then, yes, it still reigns true today.
Holy crap!
And so 37208 is that area code, which is literally 2 to 3 minutes away from where we are.
Where's that at?
Buchanan, Jefferson Street,
Okay.
that whole area is the 37208 area code.
Oh, okay.
All right.
So just north of where Jefferson Street Bridge is, and up that direction?
Yes.
All right.
Yes. And so, yeah, man, life as I knew it was kind of regular. You know, I kind of grew up as a normal kid until one day I remember crying, and my mom and my dad, who I thought was my real dad, were having a conversation. I'm assuming that they were arguing about a divorce. And so I stormed out the house, and they came and got me. I was like, "What's wrong with you?" I was like, "Y'all getting a divorce." And parents lie to their kids all the time. Of course, they lied to me because 2 weeks later, we were moving in one of the most notorious housing projects in Nashville called Dodge City, Cumberland View. Still Dodge City today, okay? Right next to a police precinct. It's the craziest thing ever. But yeah, ended up moving over there, man, and I can assume what I didn't know is that my mom and dad were arguing because they were using drugs on the weekend. And my stepdad obviously started to like it more than my mom. And so they got into it about finances, hence the divorce, hence us moving to Dodge City. So I can assume my mom was depressed. You know, she's single parent now with 2 children, and drugs were so readily available, she started to use them on the regular, and thus begun our spiral into poverty.
Did you have brothers and sisters?
I did. So I have an older sister. I have a younger brother, but he wasn't born to 10 years later. So he's 10 years younger than me. So at this point in time, it was just me and my older sister. But I like to say my little sister because I've always kind of been the leader, the chief of the household. And if you asked her, she'd probably say my big brother. But yeah, it was just me and her, man. I mean, you know, we just try to make the best of what we could. I mean, I tell people if you're born in poverty, it's not really poverty because you can only miss you can't miss what you've never had, right? So we didn't really have a lot, so I didn't really have a lot to miss. And so poverty was kind of normative for me. I didn't really understand how impoverished we were until, you know, I started getting older and going to school and, you know, not having, you know, clean clothes and wash and dry. I used to wash my clothes with dishwashing liquid. I used to use baking soda as my toothpaste and deodorant. I used to use the Tennessean newspaper as toilet paper, literally. And, you know, really didn't go to the dentist and get haircuts as frequently as other people I went to school with. So, yeah, it was pretty tough growing up.
So your parents did get divorced?
Yes.
And your mom moves into this project, you and your sister. She starts using drugs more frequently. But at some point, I mean, you had to get introduced to that as an adolescent and start doing them yourself and dealing with them yourself. So what happened there?
So life continued to kind of just take a spiral, you know, not coming home from school, not really having anything to eat. And of course, going to school, I didn't even really pay attention because I was constantly being talked about and bullied psychologically because I didn't have clean clothes and new shoes and things of that nature. And so I made up this equation with my limited thinking. You got to understand, I'm not mentally developed enough to kind of deal with all the trauma that I'm experiencing. And so I made up this thing. I was like, okay, if I can get them to laugh with me instead of at me, then this will divert, you know, the attention from me. But the whole time I was hurting myself because I became the class clown. So I was never in school. I was always in trouble, right? And so after that, when I was 13, I remember coming home after going through all of that for years on end, was coming home from school. And when I got to where I live, I noticed that all of our things were sitting out on the side of the road. So to bring it into context, my mom was so addicted to drugs, she didn't pay the rent. It was only $50. Okay. And we ended up getting put out. And from that day, my whole life changed.
So you got put out because mom couldn't afford $50.
Yeah.
And so that had to do something about your idea of money too, or didn't it?
Exactly. And so you got to understand, we're not mentally developed enough until we're 27 fully.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to understand, put it in the context. I'm a child, right? I don't know. I'm a child. I'm 13, right? And so on the walk because my granny always told me, she said, Robert, if anything ever happens, you get to my house. This was my mom's dad's mom, my great grandmother, who I love. God rest her soul. That was my angel there. She always had my back. I was her Rob. That's what she called me.
Great grandma.
Yeah, that's my baby. So she said, Little Robert, you get to my house. I said, yes, ma'am. So I remembered that when that traumatic situation happened, I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know where I was going to sleep. And my mom wasn't there. Nobody was there. And so I walked to my grandmother's house on the other side of North Nashville, about a 45-minute walk. And on that walk, my concept of money changed, because in my limited thinking, the only thing that could have changed that from a kid's perspective is money. And so money became my God at that moment.
And how old were you?
I was 13.
13 years old, you come home, everything's on the street, mom's not there, you run to great grandma because that's what you were supposed to do.
Yeah.
And on that 45-minute walk, money became, like, if I can get money, I'm out of these problems.
I kept saying to myself, when I grow up, I'm never going to be broke again. Then I cry, and then I get mad, and then I tell myself, when I grow up, I'm never going to be broke again. And then my kid side to kick in, and I cry some more. One of those snotty cries, because I'm hurt. I don't understand what's going on. I understand, but I don't understand. And yeah, at that point, man,
anger.
That little kid became another person.
And so your decision, I'm assuming, I'm never going to be broke again. So you looked at your resources and said, hey, who are the people that have money around me? And they were dealing drugs. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yeah. You got to understand it. And a lot of people don't understand that. I was telling a friend today, I was like, a lot of my friends don't understand the concept of poverty. Okay? Like, ghettos were created, man. Like, you have a lot of low income, marginalized people in one area. There isn't any hope. Hope is only created when you can see something greater to aspire to. And when you don't, you just kind of succumb to what's going on at that time. And again, like I said previously, you don't miss what you've never had. And so I looked around, and the only thing I seen was drug dealers getting wads of money. So what kid wouldn't want wads of money if it could change their living situation? If it could change their situation at school from them being talked about? Who wouldn't want that?
So you decided I'm not a drug dealer. I don't do drugs, never done them in my life. So how does a 13-year-old kid go, I'm going to become a drug dealer? How does that even happen? There's not a course you sign up for in the afternoons. This is how to become a drug dealer.
Yeah, it was so prevalent that you kind of seen it. It's an even exchange. It's literally that simple. I have something that you want and that you're willing to pay for.
Yeah.
And it's an exchange. And so me growing up seeing it, the transactions take place. Once I ended up going to grandma's house, I had cousins that were on the other end of North Nashville who were already, so we say, off the porch, right? Which means they're already out selling drugs, know how to do it. And so I went over there and I begged them to teach me. And they kicked my butt a couple times. I said, get on away from me. You ain't ready for this. And I would come back the next day and like, man, teach me how to do it. And they taught me how to sell drugs, man, and I never looked back.
We're talking to Robert Sherrill on the root of all success today. Nashville native, as we just talked about. Grew up in poverty, grew up selling drugs, became a very successful drug dealer, made millions of dollars from it, ended up going to prison, which you haven't heard that story. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And then this story is going to end with Donald Trump. So in context, we're recording this, 4-5 days after his attempted assassination.
Yeah.
And it's going to be released sometime right around election time. So this is a hot topic. But Donald Trump is involved in this story. That's a teaser, so you got to stick with us. So Robert, so you go back to this porch talking to these guys, like, teach me how to do this. And they started teaching you how to do it. Now, I'm assuming, as an entrepreneur, that looking at this as from an entrepreneurial, it's like, okay, first of all, you just need to go deliver this to this guy. They started using you as a mule just to go take these. I'm assuming that's what happened. So you got used to the process, and then they started introducing you to the distributors, and then you started buying. I'm assuming that's how this entrepreneurial thing works. Is that right?
Well, essentially. But technically, it's a lot of elements to being a drug dealer. Like, literally, you have to have charisma. You have to have intelligence. You have to be swift. You have to be smart. And so anybody just can't sell drugs, because I have, as a kid, something that people would hurt me for. They want it that bad. So once I learned, I had to, after I got over on, which is what they say, people Jewed me out of my stuff, man. I mean, I was a kid. They finessed me. You know, let me get a 20 and I'll pay you back when I get paid Friday. And I never see them again. And I'm like, oh man, they said they was gonna pay me back on Friday. And then I had to learn quickly that there's no love in this game. And so I had to quickly learn that I had no friends. And if I'm gonna make this, I have to be able to assess a situation very quickly and make a decision within seconds. And so when you got 100 people walking up to you in a day, I want this, I want that, let me buy this, let me buy that, with all sorts of stories. I've heard every story you could possibly hear. So I have to look at the situation, assess it, make a decision. I have to look at it as a threat. Is it a scheme? Is it a plot? I have to assess it really quickly. And that led to me just having a very, very keen sense of people, which I still carry today. I think that has kind of helped me in networking as well, just being able to know who's full of shit and who's not, and quickly making that decision and moving on. And what I was going to say is that what's interesting to me about that is that a lot of people who sit across from me on these shows have stories of extreme adversity, or in times when they do something that was bad or something bad happened to them. So you're in the latter camp. Something bad happened to you, plus you contributed to it. You weren't a victim of it, but you contributed to it. But now, looking back 20 years, 30 years, that led me to who I am today. Had that not happened, I wouldn't be who I am today. So you are an extreme student of people, which has made you successful and a millionaire in business legitimately, because you were involved in illicit activities before. So I'm sure you've considered that, but like, that's a blessing that it happened, even though it wasn't good that it happened. Yeah, it's always, I mean, God says in this life we say have tribulation, be of good cheer, we've overcome the world. He's always quoting, be of good courage. Don't be afraid.
Fear not.
Right. Why would he imply that if those things would be absent in our lives? They're very much real and prevalent every day. But it's what those situations do for you. Like, they mold you into who you need to be. Like, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have done the things that I've done and won the things that I've won and been in the circles that have been in if it wasn't for what I learned in those trying times. But needless to say, selling drugs was stupid hard, bro. Don't get it twisted. Like, it was crazy. It was stupid. I would never do it again, because you had to. Desperation always will have you doing things and justifying it in the process, right? And so my absence of money and my absence of food and my absence of a stable home led me to justify those wrong actions for years on end, right? And so, yeah, man, I just used to be out there selling. And then, as you're selling, we start to, get high. You start to smoke weed and, snort cocaine and things of that nature. And then I end up getting addicted to drugs.
Let's take a quick break to thank our amazing sponsors for making this podcast possible.
As an entrepreneur running multiple businesses, effective communication is critical for me. I've tried all kinds of outreach tools over the years, but none have compared to Dubb when it comes to driving real results, and that's DUBB. I was one of Dubb's first users. I think it was like 7 years ago when they first launched, and I've been a loyal customer ever since. Dubb has completely transformed my prospecting, my client communication strategy, and here's why. Dubb makes it simple to record personal video messages and share them across email, SMS, social media, and more. And this brings back the face-to-face connection that's missing from most digital outreach. And what happens is my prospects instantly feel more engaged when they can put my face to my name. I end up building a stronger relationship faster by incorporating these video messaging into my workflow. Dubb also provides tracking and analytics so I can see exactly who engages with my videos and how they respond to them. Their automation and their CRM features help me nurture leads and close more deals. I mean, that's what we're trying to do, right, as entrepreneurs. So after using Dubb for years, I absolutely can't recommend them enough. I mean, Ruben, those guys over there are phenomenal. I love Darius. They're all great guys. It's become an invaluable tool that I depend upon to run my businesses efficiently. And if you want to boost your outreach and see amazing results like I have, head over to therealjasonduncan.com/Dubb, that's DUBB, and you can try it completely for free. No credit card required. You get the first 50% off your first 2 months, by the way, if you use my link. You need to take your prospecting to the next level with video messaging from Dubb. They're my go-to sales communication platform for nearly 7 years and counting. Go to therealjasonduncan.com/Dubb. Try it for free, no credit card required, and you'll get 50% off your first 2 months as well. Owning a business means spending a lot of time thinking about money. Do you have enough cash to pay your vendors, cover payroll, keep anything for yourself? What's the solution? Banking with Relay to gain total cash flow clarity. With up to 20 checking accounts, you can separate cash for every expense, payroll, taxes, owner's comp, and you can know exactly how much you have to spend. You can get banking built for small businesses. Sign up in 10 minutes at therealjasonduncan.com/relay. That's therealjasonduncan.com/relay. Relay is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services provided by Thread Bank, member FDIC.
Thanks for listening to our sponsors. Now, back to the show.
So did you start selling drugs before you did drugs?
Yes.
Is that pretty normal?
Yes. But
So-
then you quickly go into doing drugs.
So drug dealers start out by selling it because they want to make money, and they're like, well, let me try it. And so they start doing it themselves.
That's not the norm. But,
Okay.
but back in my little dispensation, I call them dispensations. I have a lot of dispensations in my life.
Yeah.
In that particular dispensation and at that time in culture, that was the thing to do, right? So smoking weed and stuff now, marijuana now, is like everybody does it. It was cool. Back then, if you was a drug dealer and you snorted cocaine, it wasn't frowned upon. It was normative, right? And so me, adopting what was normative at that time led to me end up getting addicted.
How long did you sell drugs?
Man, I sold drugs most of my life, half of my life, man. I'm 41. I sold drugs up until I got busted at 25.
So 12 years you were selling drugs from 13 to 25.
Yep.
And you got busted
Every day, all day.
And you made millions.
I made millions.
How do you deal with the money on that? Like, is it all? I know it's all cash. I mean,
All
You're not
cash.
taking Stripe.
You got mountains of cash, bro. Mountains of cash.
How do you protect it?
I mean, you have different houses. I mean, of course, you got people that work for you, you know. I mean, it's an elaborate operation. It's not again, it's a Fortune 500 company. Just the product is cocaine.
Man.
There's no difference. No difference.
So you made all this.
Except the product.
So you made all this money selling drugs here in Nashville, and you end up getting busted and going to prison. So tell us about how you got caught and what happened.
So man, I was selling a bunch of cocaine, but I already knew that I was very smart, and I knew that I wanted to transition out. When I got busted, I was on my transition out, right? I was going to Millionaire Technical College to be an electrician.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that part of the
Yes,
story. I missed that part of the story.
I was going to Millionaire Technical College to be an electrician. During the day, at night, I was running a big cleaning business. And then, but it was a franchise that I used to buy with my drug money. And then I was selling kilos of cocaine. So I was going to school, running a business, and selling kilos all at the same time.
But your mindset was, I got to get out of the drug business because this is not going to be a lifetime for me.
Yes.
I got to start this cleaning business. I got to be an electrician.
I had the right thoughts. Just bought my first house, and then I got busted.
Now, were you married, have kids or anything?
I was married. I was married, and at that point, I had 3 kids.
Did your wife know what was going on?
Nah, she
had no idea?
She knew, but she didn't know.
She didn't want to know?
No, she don't play that shit.
Oh, really?
No. She's never. I kept it away from her. You know what I mean?
She's like, don't bring your business home.
No. Or don't. She's not a high. Like, she never asked for all of that.
Is this the woman you're still married to today? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you get busted, but the story of you getting busted, this is classic. I don't remember all the details, but I remember going, holy crap, this is crazy.
Yeah, I went to a concert and met a guy from my neighborhood, and the telltale signs were there. I could remember walking up, and he was talking to another guy, and when I walked up, he hurried up and walked off, and I was like, huh. He walked off real quickly. And so me talking to this guy, you know, and this is just a listen. I'm like, hey, you know, he's like, "How? What you doing?" He see me looking good. So he's like, "What's up? What you doing?" I said, "What you doing?" He's like, "Shit, you working, ain't you?" I said, yeah. He's like, "Here go my number, hit me up. We talk details later." So we talk details, and then he starts to come and buy from me. What I don't know is he's already gotten busted. And so now he's out trying to set someone up. So he does 3 buys from me, and then they come and get me.
So, but wasn't there a story like you ran off, you sold drugs to the police, or there was some weird part of this story that was like odd.
So
it was funny too.
So what happened is, you're talking about when I was a young kid, when I robbed the police.
That's what it was. I forgot about that. That's when you robbed the police.
Yeah.
On a drug bust, you robbed the police.
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I thought that was how you got busted. I got the story mixed
So
up.
that was when I was a young guy. I did that when I was 16. I got busted when I was 25. Now, when I was 16,
wow.
I told you I've been selling drugs a long time. So again, I was selling to a confidential informant, and they did a drug bust on
16.
me.
At 16.
At 16. But I ended up getting away with the money and the drugs. But it was a full-fledged sting. This was put on by the police. It was a task force unit. And this 16-year-old kid hatched a plan to not only to get the drugs, but the money as well.
And you got both.
I got both.
And got away with it.
Got away with it. They had to bring in the TBI to get me.
And did it take them that long to figure it out?
It took 2 days. Our TBI are heavyweights, by the way. So yeah, it took them 2 days, man. They tracked down the car. They did all this stuff. Because you got to understand, you're a sergeant. How do you go back and tell your chief that a 16-year-old kid just got away with buy money? They took it out of evidence to use to get me, and I ended up getting away with it, and I spent every dime of it. But they whooped my behind when they caught me.
So you had to go to juvie at that point, right?
Yeah, I got 2 years in juvenile. So I did 2 years for that, and I got out when I was 18.
So 16 to 18, were you still selling drugs in juvie, or that you?
No. It was no. You
couldn't do
can't
that.
No, it was just gang banging at that point. That's
So, what happened when you got out? So at 18, you get out. You're like, I'm going to go back to what I know.
Yeah, there's no resources for me. What? I mean, there's nothing there. Nothing there. I mean, of course, I could have chose to get a job. I mean, but you gotta understand, when you get out, man. I mean, what they were paying back then, you probably make $9 an hour. What's that gonna do?
Maybe.
You know what I'm saying? If that, you know. I truly believe once you want someone to re-enter in society and be successful and not go back, you got to provide some opportunity. And I never had them. You know.
So you go back to selling drugs for the next 5, 6, 7 years. You're selling drugs, and now you get busted.
Yeah.
But you didn't make away with the money and the buy money and all that. So what happened when you got busted?
No, man. When I pulled up, I never forget it. I pulled up. I just left school, and I was supposed to go clean some buildings. I got busted. I had the Millionaire college sweater on, and man, when I pulled up and I got in the house and I got in the car with him to give him the drugs, the way he handed me his money, I knew it.
Really?
Yeah.
Like you just knew how to handle it.
How he handed me the money, I knew it wasn't right. That the amount of money that he was coming to spend, you don't hand me a wad of money. They're in $5,000 stacks. That's how you do it. Quickly, thumb through it. All right. I know what $5,000 looks like. It's just $5,000 stacks. He handed me a wad of money, and I looked around.
You're like, uh-oh.
And I said, man, you done set me. And before I got out, they were rushing us. Took me out, put me in a police car, took him in another car, and took him away. He never made it downtown.
So that was the informant.
That was the informant.
Man.
Yep.
So you go to prison.
Go to prison.
Where'd you go to prison?
I said Millionaire.
That was prison too.
I went to, right. I went to Forest City, Arkansas. It's a federal complex in Arkansas. And man, it was one of the most toughest parts of my life because, you know, the United States, the paperwork said the United States of America versus Robert Sherrill. And I was like, oh shit, I done fucked up.
Yeah,
Like
that's
I done
heavy.
messed up. You know what I'm saying? And then you get time to sit down, and I finally had time to sit down and think about my real dad. So the man I was telling you about my mom was married to was just her husband. My real dad was in prison, in and out of prison my whole life. He ended up dying in prison when I was 16 in Riverbend maximum security prison, which is crazy because I just left Riverbend today.
Yeah, you went over there. You do some programs over there.
Yes, just left Riverbend today. So the same prison my daddy died in is the same prison I go and help in, which is crazy.
And what is that, the DREAM Initiative or is it Impact?
DREAM Initiative.
Okay.
Stands for Decreasing Recidivism Through Education and Mentorship. So once I got out, you know, I started that program, but we'll touch back on that.
Yeah. So you go to Arkansas to federal penitentiary, and you're there for how many years?
5 years.
5 years. And during that time, like, what happened? Is this when you met Jesus? Like, what?
No. So I've always been, you know, my auntie, man, God bless her soul, my Aunt Charlene, I love her to death. You know, through all the stuff that we went through as kids, you know, she would come and take me to church and stuff like that. So I accepted Jesus a long time ago, right? And I even prayed and all of that throughout all of the stuff in my life. Like I never abandoned him. You know, my sin separated, I would say, you know, so I thought.
Yeah, you weren't obeying. You accepted.
I just wasn't obeying, but I accept him. But you got to understand, we can get into some stuff about that.
Yeah.
God, I was his chosen one even then. That's how I made it to this far. He didn't abandon me. Even in my sin, he helped me through. He helped me. I'm supposed to have been gone statistically. All the stuff I done been through, man, he kept me because I accepted him genuinely. But he knew everything. He knew how I was born. He knew all I went through. And I was just in my human form at the moment, right? And so when I got to prison, I really had time enough to really just sit down and be like, you know what? Let me see about this God who I say I love. Let me spend some time with him. And so I got the time to spend with him, man. And I got out, and I literally used that time to grow closer to him and then educate myself on business, financial management, psychology of a man. These are the classes I took while I was in prison to not only learn myself, but to learn my God. And before I left, the best thing I ever did, and I would, anybody who's watching this, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Period. You hear that, but it takes on a new meaning when you live it, when you have no choice, but you have to sit down and really make a plan for your life. And it was in that plan that I found success.
So you spend 5 years figuring stuff out. So did the 5 years, was that a defined period and you knew you were out in 5, or was it a longer sentence and you got out in 5?
No, it was a defined period. The feds, you get defined period.
All right, so if you had 5 years and you were just counting the days.
Yeah.
What happens on that 5 years, that start of the 6th year when you walk out? Like, what do you do?
Just a new breath, man. I went to a federal halfway house called Dearson Charities. It's on 808 Lee Avenue, not too far from here.
So you came back to Nashville?
Yeah.
Because this is home.
Yeah. Came back to Nashville, went to a federal halfway house, and just the next day, 2 days after I did my orientation, I was out searching for a job, and I ended up getting a job at Maggiano's Little Italy on West End Avenue.
But when did you make the decision, I will not sell drugs anymore?
Oh, a week in prison? Dude, I'm a free.
This sucks.
Dude, I'm a free spirit, bro. I don't want to be around no bunch of men all day. I can't eat what I want to eat. I can't wear nice clothes. I can't smoke cigars. I can't. I can't see my children. Oh no, I would never go back. And I made that decision then. I mean, I knew I wasn't going back. I just knew I needed to find a better way, and I found that way while I was in prison.
So you have on your record a federal, a felony.
Yeah.
Drug felony
Yeah.
on your record. You've since gone on, when you got out of prison, to start several businesses.
Yeah.
And Imperial Cleaning Service Systems is your main business.
For sure.
But you've got these other nonprofits you do. But through your entrepreneurship, you've become a millionaire again. Like you're doing quite well.
Yeah, for sure.
But you've decided to go back and say, you know what, I wanna give back to the community. So tell us a little bit about the Dream Initiative.
So it wasn't until I got out of prison and I had to walk through every door of reentry that the idea clicked in my head, because essentially all I had planned to do was to start a cleaning company, write a book, and to start a youth program. That was my plan prior to me walking out of prison. Literally, I still have the papers that I wrote this plan out on. I still have the paper that I wrote it on while I was in prison. And so I did that. I got out, worked until I built myself up, started my company 2014, built it up from the ground up. And I started to see, like, God was like, man, you need to utilize this. So I tell people, we're all stewards of our experiences. You're a steward. Someone who's watching is a steward. Whatever you go through is just not for you, Jason. It's for other people.
That's right.
And so that's when the idea of helping men and women getting out of prison came from. And so that's what was birthed.
So what do you do specifically? You're going to the prison, to Riverbend, and you've been to 2 today.
Yeah.
Right? And so you're going and teaching classes.
Yes.
And are your classes based on the idea of don't be like what I did, or is it just completely just business? You're just teaching these kids how to do business?
Oh no! So
or is it kids? Or kids or adults?
No, adults.
These are adults. Okay.
So the Dream Initiative came from, of course, me walking through every area of reentry. But I gotta tell you, because in order for it to make sense, I have to put a pause on it. After I got out, after I built myself back up, learned all the experiences of that, because that's important. Started the company, wrote a book, which is called The Journey Back to Now, and started the youth program. It wasn't until I did all of that I applied for the governor's pardon that all of this started to come full circle. Once I got the governor's pardon from Governor Bill, shout out to Bill Haslam, thank you for pardoning me. He's a Republican governor, saw fit to pardon me. That's when I was able to then go inside of prisons.
So you weren't able to go before?
No.
They wouldn't let you back in?
No, I was a felon.
I had no idea.
You can't go. Yeah, you can't go in prison like that. You can't just have charges and go in prison to deal with inmates. You have to get an NCIC check. You have to go through the ringer to be able to go in there and volunteer.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Why is that? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want you don't want someone who's in a criminal lifestyle to go in there and be around prisoners and, sneaking stuff in. There's so many things, nuances to that.
Well, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that was what I was going to ask you. What was your motivation for wanting a pardon to begin with, other than getting it off your record? Because it's like, I don't want that on my record anymore. But it was you had a legitimate, it's like, if I'm going to go work in these prisons to help people keep recidivism, keep that from happening, I got to get this off my record. So you approached Bill Haslam, governor here in Tennessee. Was he 2 governors ago or 1? Was it before
one
Bill?
One governor.
Before Bill Lee?
Yep.
Okay, so Bill Haslam, only saw him, met him one time. I was at the Palm having lunch, and he walked in and goes, "How you guys doing?" And he walked right past. That's my only interaction with Bill Haslam. But so you got a pardon from him. How long did that take?
It took about 1.5 years, but it wasn't until I built my company up. It wasn't until COVID happened. So
this is recent.
Yeah, so COVID happened. It's all connected. So I built my company up. I got a big contract with B&A. I was out there working. They came and escorted me off the property. Yes. I said, I'm the CEO of the company. They said, you have a felony on your record. You can't be on the property. So when I got back to the office, my assistant, I said, I got to get a pardon. This is bullshit. I need a pardon. And so we looked up what does it take to get a pardon. But the anomaly with me, and this way it gets deep. Imagine hitting the lottery, literally hitting the lottery, and playing every day. That was the game I was playing, because the state pardon didn't do nothing for me. I had to have 2 pardons, because I had a federal case and I had a state case. So I had to be pardoned by a governor and a president to get all of my rights restored. Okay? But you can't have one without the other. So I had to start with the governor. Right. Had it stopped with the governor, I couldn't even pursue the presidential. And I couldn't pursue a presidential without the governor's pardon. Right? So me building the company, me getting the thing with B&A, and me being escorted off of the property led to me, I need to try it. All right? And of course, most people don't try. When they look at a situation and see that it is a daunting task and that it's going to require something of them they're not willing to give up, they don't even try. We miss 99% of the shots we don't take. And me knowing that, I've always shoot my shot. Because guess what? If I was thinking of quitting, how many other people would think, oh man, the governor's not going to pardon me, and never apply? If there are people who could get it who never apply. So if you listen to this, man, shoot your shot. All you could do is tell me no. So I took my shot, man, and he gifted it to me.
So the whole time you have this B&A contract, you can't even go.
I can't even go now, and it's my company.
That's crazy.
Exactly.
How did you win the contract being a felon?
Because it's not. My company has no bearing on my felon. My felon has no bearing on that, right? It's me being on the property.
So they just have to do background checks on every person.
Yeah. So
because it's a national security thing, I suppose.
Yeah, but I took that personally. That was embarrassing.
Well, yeah. And
so that's why most people's like, don't worry about it. I don't have to be there. I can just have people do it. But I took it personally. And I applied for the pardon.
So who was president when you got the pardon from Bill Haslam?
Was it Barack Obama?
Yeah, so Obama was president. So did you? So I know the ending of this story, which I teased a moment ago. But so you go to Bill Haslam, Governor Bill Haslam, the great state of Tennessee. You get the pardon. It takes you 18 months to get that pardon.
Yeah.
When did you immediately start applying to the White House to get a pardon?
Immediately, because there's no equity without it. That I couldn't even celebrate the governor's pardon because it did nothing for me, because I still had a federal case. So I'm still a convicted felon, even though I was pardoned on the state level. So
so I assume you met Bill Haslam, got pictures and all the pardon paper and all that. That's got to feel amazing, even though you couldn't celebrate it.
Yeah, it was great. I talked to him at a Rotary, He was him and Governor Phil Bredesen were doing it at Rotary, so I'm a Rotarian. And so I went to there and he was there speaking, and that was the first time publicly I got to thank him in front of everybody. He called me, we had a great conversation, and I told him, I said, hey, when I do my documentary on my life, I said, I need you to know that we're gonna reach out and I'm gonna need you to do an interview. He said, I will do it for you. So stay tuned, that's coming.
So now, did you reach out to Obama's White House? Was that what happened at the time?
So no, once I did that, Obama was going out, and Trump was coming in.
Oh, so it was right at the transition.
So it was right at the transition.
Okay.
And so I had to apply, which took a lot of money. I had to get an attorney by the name of Margaret Love out of DC to file the paperwork. It's a stringent process. Dude, and then the FBI, well, not the FBI, the Department of Justice start to politically, as they say, send me through the ringer. They got to calling people. People would call me and say, man, the Department of Justice just called me. I said, about what? About you? I'm like, really? Like, dude, they're like, who is this Robert Sherrill guy?
They're just making sure you're legit.
Yeah.
That you're not selling drugs.
Exactly. They had to make sure. So I've been through the ringer twice. I've been through the ringer from the governor and the president. And, man, I didn't know how it was going to work out. I prayed and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed. And lo and behold, on the day he was leaving office, I got a call from a friend from a 202 area code, a DC area code. I thought it was the president's office. And it was my friend who's from DC, and he says, brother, what are you doing? I said, you know what I'm doing right now. What do you mean? I'm waiting on a call. And he says, check the internet. Man, I went to the internet, and lo and behold, my name was on there. I went crazy.
So you found out, you didn't even know?
I didn't know.
So Trump's last day in office, which is normal for most presidents,
Yeah.
they do a bunch of pardons.
Yep.
So he does a pardon, and you're on the list, and you they didn't call you?
He didn't call me.
Just so you know, buddy, you're off the
Yeah,
hook.
they didn't even call me. You know what I'm saying?
Little gift on the way out.
You know, I told him, I gave him shit about that when I seen him. I was like, dude, you didn't even call me. He just laughed.
But how you got the pardon though is a really interesting part of the story, because you were at some business breakfast or something.
Yep.
And you were there only because you knew Mike Pence, Vice President Mike Pence, was
Yep.
going to be in the room.
Yeah.
So tell me that story.
So I'm at this event. I was thankful again.
And that was here in Nashville?
Yes. Again, you're going to see the trickles of sovereignty.
Yeah.
And God's omnipotence in this, because everything was strategic to bring me to who I am today. That's how I knew, like he's always been with me. There's no way all of this takes place without the hand of God, okay? Now, and this in particular, so listen up. I'm in a room, I'm at a table. The vice president is speaking. I'm the only black person in the room, okay? Literally. So I'm looking around, I'm like, oh shit, like this room's a little, I don't know. And joking, one of my friends said, he's like, Robert, Secret Service is looking, I thought they was gonna tackle you. Like, you know, we joke about it. So it's funny, it was funny. So Vice President Pence got done speaking, and my mind said, don't go up there. But my body was like, get your ass up.
Yeah.
The next thing I know,
Take a shot.
I'm walking toward the Vice President of the United States. But I'm turning around in my head, but my body doesn't turn around. It keeps getting closer and closer. And I never forget, as the closer I get to him, guess my mind is saying, oh shit. Like literally, it was that. Secret Service everywhere. We can't have phones. Like it's locked down. And lo and behold, as soon as I step up there, I just stand there, and he comes right in front of me, sticks his hand out and says, how you doing, son? What's your name? I said, I'm Robert Sherrill, Mr. Vice President. Thank you for your time. I said, I'm from Nashville, And, you know, I just got a pardon by Governor Bill Haslam,
Who was in the room?
who was in the room. So I pointed at him. So he glanced over and looked back. And now I got to put a pause. I know you're in your seats, but I got to put a pause because something special happens. When I applied for my pardon for the governor, Senator Mark Green wrote me a letter on my behalf to the governor saying Robert Sherrill's a great guy, he's an asset to the community. I think you should pardon him, right? At this opportune time, remind you, I don't even know Mark Green is in the room. I'm sitting here talking to the second powerfulest man in the United States. And as I'm sitting there talking to him, in my peripheral, I see someone on my left, and I look, and guess who it is? Mark Green. Immediately, Vice President Mike Pence turns to Mark Green and says, Mr. Green, do you know Mr. Sherrill? So I look at Mark Green. Mark Green said, yes, sir, Mr. Vice President, I know Mr. Sherrill. I wrote a letter on his behalf to the governor. Pence shook his head. Okay. Turns to me and brings us in closer and says, Senator Green, can you get Robert Sherrill's packet to my office? Now, my soul just came out of my body. I'm on the outside looking in at this point. I think I blanked out. I blanked out because I can't believe this is happening. And Green said, yes, sir, Mr. Vice President, I can. When he said that, the Vice President turns to me. He sticks out his hand like this. He said, son, we believe in second chances.
Wow.
And I got a pardon from the President of the United States, Donald Trump.
So how many months passed between that day and your pardon?
About 10 months.
Whoa. So another just gut-wrenching 10 months waiting.
Bro.
And not knowing.
Dude, my life has been not knowing. But I think that's how God intends for it to be, because this is the thing. Listen to this. If you knew how everything was going to pan out, why would you need God?
That's right. Why would you need faith?
Why would you pray? Why would you worship him? Because you're like, I know how my life's going to go. I'm the captain of my own ship. God always leaves me in the blind, but now I understand why. It's so I could have more dependence on him and his sovereignty.
Man, so 10 months, you're waiting, you've applied. The Vice President of the United States says, we believe in second chances, which is code for, we got you. We got you.
I didn't know, bro.
And then your friend from D.C. calls, it was the last day in office, or was it?
He had already left office. It was about 12:45. He left at 12 o'clock.
So it's the day of the transition.
Yes. So
January.
that transition is the day. So
was that January 6th?
Yeah.
What day was it?
I don't remember.
Yeah. So
I know I should know that day.
yeah, whatever day that
I think
was.
it was in February. I think it's somewhere in there, maybe. But the whole day goes by, and it's 12 a.m. the next day, right? That's when they officially leave office. 12 a.m. that whole day, and then going into the next day. And so. Man, he calls me and tells me I got it, man. I erupted. I broke down, and I just couldn't believe it, man. I'm the only person in the history of the United States to be pardoned by a governor and a president. That's how big it is. And half of the United States don't even know who I am.
So, but I thought you said that a pardon had to be governor and president, but it can be president. It could be the president without the governor? Because lots of people get pardoned.
Yes. So listen, I had a state felony and a federal felony.
Oh, you had to get the state. Oh, I see. The state felony had to be pardoned, or the federal felony wouldn't be pardoned at all.
Yeah. So if I just had a state felony, all I needed was the governor. Or if I just had a federal felony, all I would need is the president.
Gotcha.
But I had both, so I had to get double pardon. I'm the only person to ever do it.
How? That's crazy.
Who you telling?
Wow. So now you have a picture of you and Trump.
I do.
At some point you guys meet. So when did you meet? Because it didn't happen during the pardon process.
No. So we met in Nashville. He came to Nashville and we met, and it was funny because you got all these billionaires in the room. And then I walked through with my own entourage leading me, and everybody's like, who is this guy? Again, the only black guy in the room. And I skipped the line. I skipped Marsha Blackburn. I skipped her husband, her son. I skipped everybody and went straight to the president.
And what year was that?
That was last year.
23?
Yeah.
Holy crap, man.
I skipped everybody, went to him, took pictures, we talked. Then I got to go in a private room with him for 2 hours.
All right, so here's where I want to ask about that conversation, but for my editor's sake, we're going to get a picture of you and Trump. You're going to send it to me and my team, and we're going to put that in the YouTube version of this. So if you're not watching this on YouTube, you guys see the picture of him with President Trump. So,
For sure.
So you meet Trump, and he obviously has no idea who you are, and you have to introduce yourself.
No, he knows. No.
Did he know?
He knew exactly.
Just by looking at you, he knew?
Of course. I'm the only black guy in the room.
But how would he know? I mean, did he only pardon one black guy?
No.
I'm saying,
but mine was mine was like headlines. You know what I'm saying? It was dude, I did news story after news story after news story. All right, on that. And he knew who I was. He knew exactly who I was.
All right.
Let me tell you something. When you go to do this, they know everybody in the room. They know everybody. He knew who was coming. He knew I was like a special guest. So he knew exactly who I was. That's why I was able to go in the private room and do all of that.
So when you went in the room with him, would you guys how did that conversation go?
It was great. I mean, he just sat around and talked about, what's coming up. We talked about the cases and stuff that he was fighting. And it was more so a Q&A type of thing of about 12 people. Me, actor Dennis Quaid, Kid Rock, Marsha Blackburn. We were all in just like this little intimate private room. I mean, it was pretty cool. Like one powerfulest man in the country, to be there. So
that's insane.
Just cool conversation. Respect him a lot for what he did for me. I don't agree with him a lot on stuff, but again, like I told you, and to my people who this has to be said, it's okay to agree to disagree.
Yeah.
We don't have to hate each other because we have two polarizing opinions. It's okay for you to have your opinion and me to have mine, right? If we could get to that place in this country, we'll be better off. I just had to throw that in there.
No, well, it's appropriate too, and what I appreciate about your story is that you didn't become what people refer to as a Trumper, which I don't even know what that means, but I kind of understand it. You didn't become that just because he did something nice for you.
Right.
But you also aren't standing on the opposition and go, this guy's a racist bigot and he
Right.
hates every black person.
Right.
Like you're operating what I call the radical middle, where nobody lives.
Right.
It's where people accept alternate opinions and say, okay, I disagree with you. Like I disagree with some of his character things that you see. I disagree with some of the things Biden does. I disagree with Obama and Bush. Like you just go back through the thing.
I disagree with politics is
it's so dirty.
It's so dirty, and everybody plays it. That's the thing. And I don't think what frustrates me is with people on the left or right. They're both the same.
Yep.
They both play dirty. They both do backhand deals. They both do it all. Like, I don't understand why people on the left think it's just people on the right, or people on the right think it's just people on the left. Dude, I've been to Capitol Hill. It is a dirty game.
And I think it's funny that we call it right and left, and we think of it as a continuum when it's really a circle. It's the right side of the circle and the left side of the circle, and you keep going far enough, you end up on the other side of the circle.
I agree.
It's like it doesn't matter where you are.
Yeah.
And I know where I am on that circle, but I know how much it wouldn't take to push me to the other side too. So politics is a weird thing, and we're sitting on the just a few days past the attempted assassination of Trump, which is an absolute shame for our country.
I agree.
Not just politically, but just our country. It's a shame that this happened, and we don't know why it happened other than the fact, we just assumed this guy was a deranged idiot who didn't like Trump, didn't like Republicans, and just wanted to take him out. But what's sad to me is that you got these people on the internet right now today. Now today's Wednesday. This happened Saturday. So this is So when you watch this or listen to this, you got to put what I'm about to say in context, because we don't know what's going to come out between now and when the show releases. Is that we don't know what happened, but the people that are on the internet right now saying he shouldn't have missed, our country, or this world would be a better place. How despicable. I don't care what you think about Trump. You know, I'm not a fan of Joe Biden, and I don't mind saying that. But you know what I don't want? I don't want the man to be shot. And if he had been the one attempted, and I said, well, I wish they'd have hit him because our country would be better. What kind of despicable human does that make me? You know, because I don't care how much you hate Trump. Nobody deserves to die like that.
I immediately prayed for him and his family.
Oh my gosh.
I immediately prayed because God said, you got to pray for your leaders. And my thing in this is I tell people, you got to be careful. Everybody has their time. You know what I'm saying? And you have to be careful when you wish that type of stuff on people, you know? There's a lot of rhetoric going on, a lot of hateful stuff being said on both sides. The right is saying, oh, it's the the Democrats hired someone to shoot, and because they knew Trump was going to win. I don't believe that.
It's insane.
And then the right is saying, oh, I wish he would have got hit. It's all negative right now.
It's crazy.
And the best thing we can do is unite because we're one people. We need to be worried about China, Russia, India, all these places. You know, Iran. That's who we need to be worried about. And right now, the world stage is sitting around laughing at Americans because we're hating. We're just eating each other from the inside out.
Well, it could be the beginning of the end if we don't watch it.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
but I'm glad that you have such a healthy perspective of Trump because of what you went through and got to spend that time. Because a lot of people with your skin color don't have the perspective that you have.
Right.
Or frankly, a lot of people with my skin color don't have the perspective either. But the reality is you spent time with him and you kind of see a little bit past the facade because you got in a private room and got to see a little bit. That doesn't make him a saint. That doesn't make him somebody you agree with on everything. But I think it gives us perspective.
But he is a narcissist, though.
No, I don't disagree with that at all.
If you ever met, he's that. He's that. I don't think that he is as bad as people portray. I think everybody, if you put them under a microscope, has their stuff. And I'm not nobody to judge. I don't agree with him on a lot of stuff, but I don't have anything again negative to say in terms of him being who he is. I mean, Biden, I'm not a big Biden guy either. You know, if I don't vote for anybody who's not trying to reunite the country, because if we stay this left-right stuff, that's going to be our demise.
For sure.
All right. So we need to unite, man. Like disagree, agree. We left, right, Democrat, Republican, we have to unite. Yeah. That's what I want to. That's my thing. Well, we have to reunite.
You're right. I mean, in the Pledge of Allegiance, it says one nation, under God, and I believe that in many ways over the past 12 to 16 years we've been turned into two nations, left and right, red and blue, and it's not what it should be, man. We need to come back together, and we're sitting talking with you, a formerly convicted drug felon. So you don't not a convicted drug felon.
I know, I can't even say I'm a formerly convicted felon.
That's right.
Dude, that's a new term.
I know, you got to say it. You got to embrace it.
Formerly convicted felon.
Yeah, so you got to say it. Put a t-shirt, formerly convicted felon.
You know what? Thank you for that. They're going up on the website very soon.
That's right. Well,
formerly convicted felon.
Just 25%. So
look, and I'm going to do formerly, and then I'm going to do felon, but then I'm going to mark it out.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on getting through that process.
For sure. Thank you.
Staying sane through the process. But also, I love the story, as the entrepreneur in me, I love the story that you sold millions. You weren't a millionaire as a drug dealer, were you? Okay. Yes. So millionaire as a drug dealer, go to prison. I'm assuming you lost all that, right? Yeah, because all that goes to the feds.
They took it out, yes.
They took it and used it as some informant selling it to a 16-year-old somewhere else who ran off with it.
For sure. That was some buy money for another case.
So they used that as a buy money for some other case. You come out of prison with nothing but your wife and 3 kids.
That's it.
And that's it. And then you started Imperial Cleaning Systems.
Yep.
become a millionaire again, legitimately employing lots of people, helping people who are in prison get out and not go back.
Exactly.
Like this is the American story that we need to hear. We don't need to hear the stories that are negative. I do have a question though on this. I was thinking about this earlier and I forgot about it. What are your thoughts on, because you spent 5 years.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the laws around drugs? Because from somebody who doesn't do drugs, never has, never involved, I don't know that at all. But I hear a lot about people getting convicted on petty drug and going into prison, going to jail. I don't know what to think about that. Is it like, should we send people to jail? Should you have gone to prison? I mean, what's your opinion on that?
I should have went to prison. My dad shouldn't have.
He shouldn't?
No.
Okay. So what happened to your dad?
When when they created the crime bill, the prison population amongst African Americans skyrocketed. Okay, back in the 90s, when Clinton and all of them came through, Just Say No, and they criminalized addiction. Okay. What happened is you had a lot of African American men that were addicted to crack, but when they got caught with it, they criminalized it and they sent them away for 10 years at a time for a gram of crack cocaine, street worth $30. This is what happened. And because all those dads were gone, those kids were fatherless, which left them out for the streets to raise them, right? They have since then understood that and they're trying to now to come down off of some of these harsh sentences for crack cocaine and things of that nature, as they should. Of course, in my instance, I was a dealer. Yeah, figure.
You need to go.
Yeah, I needed to go, right? But there are a lot of men who, when you look at the cocaine to powder ratio and the way they were sentencing African Americans, totally unfair.
So you're in favor of reforming that idea of drug?
You have to, because now that it's drugs, i.e. the opioid epidemic, is starting to affect white America. Now it's intervention and rehabilitation. It's not criminalization.
Yeah.
But when it was African Americans addicted, it was criminalized. And if you look at the numbers, look it up, how the prison population quadrupled in a number of years because they were sentencing African Americans unfairly due to crack cocaine. So the answer is they need to do an overhaul. I'm a big fan of, if you do wrong, you need to go pay the piper. Right. I get it. But what we have to do is find equity in our system.
Do you think that they learn? Well, I don't know how to put this in perspective. So when this happened to the black population in America over drug possession,
yep,
where they went away for 10 years, left a whole generation of kids growing up without a father, which kind of is what happened to you, because that broke,
that's
right?
Exactly what happened to me.
Do you feel like that affected the black population, and then when they look back, like, oh, that shouldn't have happened? So now that white America is having, as you said, is having an opioid issue, that's their drug of choice, they're making a different decision because of what they saw, or was it difference because of race?
It's race. I look, the quickest thing that people could do is, you hear, people don't like to talk about race. People,
well, it's uncomfortable for most
It's very uncomfortable, and I get it, but numbers don't lie. We lie all the time, but numbers never lie.
That's right.
And all I tell you, if you could just take time and an open mind to just look at the numbers, you can clearly draw a distinction, okay? And yeah, it's starting to affect the lawyer's daughter. It's starting to affect the doctor's granddaughter or the senator's son, So now it hits different, because I tell my friends all the time, until something truly affects you, you don't care.
That's right. Nobody cares.
You know what I'm saying? It's not me. My family's good. We live in a nice, So yeah, I mean, that's just kind of what we're seeing. It wasn't affecting them. Crack only affected the black community. So white America could care less.
It's a shame, man.
It is, but that's the truth, brother. I'm a middle of the road. I try to shoot it straight because I don't ever want nobody calling into question who I am and what I stand for. But I also stand for truth. And anybody that knows me will tell you that.
Well, for those that have the opportunity to go listen, if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, go look at the show notes. And if you're watching this on YouTube, look at the description, and you're going to see the awards this guy has won as an entrepreneur. Like, he's no slouch. This guy Robert Sherrill has created an amazing business here in the Nashville community. And he's given back a ton through the Dream Initiative and
Impact.
And he's doing this because he knows what it's like if you don't have the support. And so, congratulations on that, man.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me.
And I'm glad to know you. I'm glad to know that you've come through all this. What do you think has been the one key in all of this that's allowed you to become successful?
Hey, God, man. I know people deviate. Dude, I'm serious. I could not do what I do or have accomplished what I've accomplished without the anointing and the grace and the covering of God. I couldn't have done it. I couldn't have done it, bro. I don't have that type of power and intellect to do all of this outside of his power and strength. And that's the fact. So, got to get you some God, man. That's my key element. Secondly, I would say consistency, dedication. We can always find a reason why not to do something. Okay? The easiest thing to do is to blame others and not take accountability. And so, God, commitment, accountability, and dedication. Those are the key elements to success. And most importantly, significance, right? I think it's important to, as you're striving for success, that you don't lose your significance. Okay? You can have success without significance, but you can't have significance without success.
So how do you define success?
The definition changes, man. It's crazy.
It
The
does.
goalpost moves. Man, success to me as a 41-year-old man is waking up in my right mind, brother. Every day. And I'm serious. Dude, because health is wealth now. Like, if you would have asked me this 10 years ago, I would have had this elaborate answer. But to wake up in my right mind with the use of all my limbs and comprehension, that's success to me.
So by that definition, do you consider yourself to be successful?
Successful as shit.
That's awesome. Well, I'm going to let you, as our last segment on the show today, I want you to put on your advisor cap. I want you to talk to, by the way, I like that cap. Is that something significant, Robert Sherrill?
It's very significant.
What's R5? What is that?
R5 is the R5 principles, right? So look back over my life and I extracted these principles. So when I go speak and I do my keynotes and stuff like that, people always want to know, like, how did you do it, right? And all of this, right? So these is the R5 principles that's coming down the pipe. It's going to be this big unrolling. It's going to be the resilience challenge, 21-day resilience challenge. You sign up and then every day you get these challenges to help you be a better person. The first one is resilience, right?
Right.
Reflection, resourcefulness, relationships, and renewal.
What's the last one?
Renewal.
Renewal. And it looks like an RS.
Yeah.
But it's R5.
It's R5. R5 principles.
Robert Sherrill, R5. I like it.
Yeah.
I like the hat. I know that's the first time I've seen the hat. And when you were walking down the sidewalk today, it's like, Robert, no, it's a 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. So with your coaching cap on, with your advisor cap, if you want to talk to the audience, besides persistence and the things you said earlier, what is advice you would give an entrepreneur to become successful?
Sell your strengths and buy your weaknesses. Let me repeat that.
That's good.
Sell your strengths, by your weaknesses. The biggest misconception about entrepreneurship is ego-driven, is that you got it all figured out. You're the smartest person in the room. This is your idea. You're the captain of your ship. This is ego talking. Because yes, it may be your big idea, but it's going to require more brains than yours to run it. And so own your lane. You know, I'm a logistics person. I'm not an administrator. So what I did is I got a team around me that was smarter than me. So I learned early on to sell my strengths and buy my weaknesses. That if you do that, nobody will stop you. That is entrepreneurship. Realizing that you're weak and then plugging those holes so you won't drown.
Great advice, man. Well, Robert, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
It's an honor to know you as a friend,
yes,
as a colleague. I'm blessed to have this conversation with you.
Thank you for having me.
This is really good. Well, thanks to Robert and his team at Imperial Cleaning Systems for letting him be on the show today. Listen, this show, we talk about a lot of things on the show. The idea of the root of all success is to talk about how someone becomes successful, but it's not often that we get to hear a story of someone coming through such adversity as Robert. Self-inflicted adversity, I might add, but he came through it nonetheless with the right mind, which what he considers success, waking up with your right mind. He made it through that whole thing. So I don't care what it is that you're going through. Whatever it is that you're struggling with, you're dealing with, I don't care if it's somebody stole from you, somebody cheated you, somebody turned their back on you, stabbed you in the back, whatever it is, you can make it through. Resilience, one of the very first of the R5 principles is resilience. You've got to be resilient. You've got to push past it. And for this guy to be sitting here, to go through 12 years of selling drugs, 2 times in jail, 1 federal prison, getting a state pardon, getting a federal pardon. Listen, what are you crying about, man? Like, what are you complaining about? You can do as much as you set your mind to. And I would say this, one of my great mentors is Napoleon Hill. And he said, in every adversity, in every heartache, in every setback, there's the seed of an equivalent or greater success.
Thank you for listening to another edition of The Root of All Success
in Robert
with
Sherrill's
the
life
Real
was
Jason Duncan.
that time when he came home and all that stuff sitting on that on the pavement, he had to walk to his grandmother's house 45 minutes away. That moment changed the rest of his life. A seed was planted that didn't take, it took until he was 25 years old to get that seed to grow. So what seed are you planting? What seed is going in your life right now through the adversity you're dealing with that you're going to make it? Take Robert's story, take it to heart, and you'll be great. Please tune in again next time when I talk with another successful entrepreneur about his or her journey to success. Until then, as always, I'm the Real Jason Duncan, and Jesus is King.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.